20 years, 12 years, and then 10 years. In a matter of 1 to 2 decades, great social movements managed to rise up and not merely fight the injustices in their midst, but end the injustices in their midst. What I'd like to do now is put forward another time period, 18 years. 18 years is what we at the Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform have set as the deadline for the pro-life movement to end the killing of preborn children. I am convinced that in 18 years' time, some of us will be sitting with our children, and others will be sitting with our grandchildren, and we will say, I remember the day when the new abortion caravan came through Ottawa. I was at the presentation where all those protesters didn't want to let us in to hear the vision of how we can end the killing and how we have ended the killing. I am convinced, as is the incredible team of young people you've heard this evening, we are convinced that indeed this is the beginning of the end of abortion in Canada. And as here we are in about day 33 of our tour, which has come to its close with this being the final event of the new Abortion Caravan, we have said, well, now we're at the end. Well, we're just at the end of the beginning. But now we've started the beginning of the end because we're at the start of our 18-year campaign. Warren Bennis once said, vision is a compelling sense of what might be. He said, vision is a target that beckons one towards action. And it is a vision for an abortion-free Canada, which has beckoned us to take this action of the new Abortion Caravan and the many other campaigns we will be doing over the next 2 decades. But right now, an abortion-free Canada is just a vision. It's not reality, because currently we're living in a nightmare, where, as Jonathan pointed out, abortion happens through all 9 months of pregnancy for any reason or no reason. How did we get here? Well, we got here because of another social reform movement. A social reform movement that incidentally managed to transform its culture, also in its lifetime, in 18 years. And that social reform movement was led by a group of individuals who identified themselves as furious women. And these furious women, in 1970, gathered on the steps of the Vancouver Art Gallery, then the Vancouver Courthouse, to launch a cross-country tour called the Abortion Caravan. And these furious women had 2 goals in mind: repeal the abortion laws and free abortion on demand. Repeal the abortion laws and free abortion on demand. And 18 years later, these women got what they wanted when in 1988, the Supreme Court of Canada threw out our 1969 abortion law, essentially leaving an open season on preborn children, because our elected politicians have yet to come forward with legal protections for preborn children. These women managed to achieve what they wanted in their lifetime because they took a lesson from the history books. And that lesson was that if you wish to change the culture, you must engage the culture. If you wish to change the culture, you must engage the culture. And so engage they did, beginning with that caravan, where they stood on the steps of the Vancouver Art Gallery and began their cross-country tour to Ottawa. And in every city they went to, in every town they went to, the women would do presentations, as we're doing presentations tonight. In every community they went to, the women also, in taking a lesson from the history books, recognized that if you want to have an impact on the culture, you must use vivid and compelling messaging. And the way they used vivid and compelling messaging was to speak of women dying from illegal abortions. In fact, one of their slogans was, "Women are dying. Abortion laws kill." And then they said, illegal abortions kill 12,000 women a year. Not only that, but they had visual tools to match their words. As they went from town to town, they had a black coffin attached to one of their vehicles, and they would display this coffin in every town. Then when they went to Ottawa, they went to Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau's home, and they laid that coffin on his lawn. And then within the coffin were instruments used for illegal abortions, things that they claimed anyways, like coat hangers. And they laid all this out on the lawn. And this is where we, as a pro-life movement, have common ground with the pro-abortion movement. We say, as they do, that you shouldn't kill people with coat hangers. But we add, you also shouldn't kill them with suction tubes, just when that seems like a better option. And so these women impacted the culture with their visual messaging. In fact, as they went from town to town, besides presentations, besides displaying their coffin, they would do plays. They would go to busy street corners and do graphic dramatizations of illegal abortions. They would wear these aprons covered in blood to draw attention to what they said was the plight of women. And certainly many women who either had illegal abortions or who have eventually had legal abortions may have found themselves in crisis. But our point is that abortion ultimately doesn't address their crisis. Making abortion legal does not make a woman who's poor into someone who's rich. Making abortion legal does not unrape a rape victim. And making abortion legal does not turn a woman's frog of a boyfriend into a prince. Abortion does not address these crises. But tragically, society of the day never thought about it that way. And so the women pressed on, and they got to Ottawa. And not only did they want to have an impact on the public, and not only did they have an impact on the media, generating media attention across the country, but they wanted to have an impact on the politicians. That's why they went to Trudeau's home. They even burned Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau in effigy. They then went to Parliament, and they managed to sneak in, sit down while it was in session, chain themselves to chairs, and disrupt Parliament, causing it to be shut down for 30 minutes. They were furious women, and they got what they wanted. But 42 years later, looking back, we have to ask ourselves, what has been the result of the old abortion caravan? The wombs of Canadian women have been turned into Canada's killing fields. A country which prides itself on peacekeeping has declared war in the womb, where 1 in 4 pregnancies end in abortion. And that is why we at CCBR have said it is time for a new abortion caravan. It is time to take this sacred cow of Canada's abortion rights movement and redeem it. Use the tool which was used to bring about great injustice, and use it as a catalyst to bring about great justice. Canada's leading abortion advocate, Joyce Arthur, said once we started the caravan that she will not call it what we want it called. And it is the new abortion caravan. Why won't she call it by its name? Because, she said, to quote her, it's a sacrilege. It's a sacrilege to call what we're doing the new abortion caravan. Why? Because the old abortion caravan was the sacred cow of the abortion rights movement. When we were in the Okanagan in Kelowna, I was interviewed by CBC Radio. And within a couple days, they found one of the women of the old caravan, Margot Dunn, one of the women that I studied as I was researching for our tour. And they interviewed her, and she said she was horrified by what we were doing. Why? Well, as abortion advocate Frances Wasserlein in her PhD thesis said, the old abortion caravan was the catalyst for an almost 2-decade struggle to advance a woman's right to choose. The abortion advocates recognize there's power when you engage a culture. There's influence when you use vivid and compelling messaging. And we're taking those approaches of engaging the culture and using vivid and compelling messaging to influence the culture, to create a just society, not an unjust one. And so, on the 29th of May, just over 30 days ago, we stood on the very steps that the women of the old caravan had stood. And we declared the start of the new abortion caravan. We have gone from town to town, city to city, doing presentations, as well as confronting the culture with vivid and compelling messaging. We are opening the casket on abortion. We are bringing into light what has been in darkness. We are unmasking choice. How have we done that? Well, one way we have done that is with billboards that are on the side and rear panels of large box body trucks that we have been driving across the country. And as you can see with this poster here, what we're trying to do is contrast life with death, because we recognize the beauty of the preborn child in her state, growing in her mother's womb, yet not yet harmed by abortion. And that is something beautiful. And the beauty is something that we are attracted to, that we are drawn to. And correspondingly, ugliness is something that we are repelled by. So we have the beautiful images of preborn children to rightly attract people to them. And correspondingly, we show the ugly images of abortion to rightly repel people from the act 100,000 women are attracted to every year. Besides that, we are making the point that we recognize not only does abortion kill children, but it wounds women. This is a picture of my colleague Nicole Cooley. She got pregnant after being raped. She had an abortion. And today she says that the abortion was like being raped again. In fact, she goes so far as to say that she has had a more difficult time healing from the abortion than she ever did healing from the rape. Why, she says? Because I chose the abortion. We are living in a country where, as has been pointed out, abortion is funded with our tax dollars. We will look at images of children starving in other parts of the world, and we will be moved with compassion towards the plight of these children, so much so that we may sacrifice financially to share our wealth with those who are less fortunate. And yet, in our own backyard, there are children who are in danger, who need our help. Yet we're not sharing our wealth to help these children, but rather to kill these children. What's the difference? Well, one child is made visible to us through commercials and magazines and newsletters, but another child is kept invisible. And so what we're doing with this campaign is making Canada's invisible children visible. And we're also living in a country where our government mandates that there be warnings on cigarette packages, telling women who are pregnant of the dangers that smoking may have on their child, that child's body. And yet, that same government will pay for the slaughter of children through abortion. Besides the trucks, as our team has mentioned through their interactions with the public, we have stood on busy street corners with handheld signs, asking passers-by what they think about abortion. We have also circulated postcards with graphic images and an explanation on the back, basically an apologetic or a defense of the pro-life view. We have circulated over 50,000 postcards across the country. Our team has the blisters to prove it. And as we've gone across the country, if you think about that number 50,000, and that, let's just say there's even 2 people per home who's encountered these postcards, that's 100,000 Canadians who have directly seen Canada's invisible children.